Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmad Ejaz. I'm an audit partner at BDO USA LLP. We are the fifth largest accounting firm. And let me begin by thanking Ty for hosting such a wonderful event, and also the entrepreneurs and audience present here. It is a rare honor in your life to passionately follow what you really want to do. I'm sure when we woke up a few years ago, we had no idea about this cloud and security track. It is the passion of the creative thinkers and entrepreneurs like yourself and the panelists here who make things happen. We are here to share some of those passion and what brings about that passion. We have a great panel here comprised of bright leaders and VCs. Navin Chaddha from Mayfield. He says he reads Wall Street Journal and is a Bollywood fan and cricket fanatic. Navin, please say a few words.
Yeah, hello everyone. As you can see, even though we invest in technology, we can't figure out how to get the mics on. I'm Navin Chaddha. I'm a managing director at Mayfield Fund. I focus on consumer and enterprise investing. Mayfield is an early stage firm. We manage over $3 billion. In our history, we have funded over 500 companies, of which 113 have had IPOs and another 150 have been acquired. Looking to partner with many entrepreneurs in the room and look forward to chatting with you.
Goel from Norwest Venture Partners.
Hi, I'm Goel. Norwest Venture Partners have been around for 50 years, and I've been around from day one. I do take special medicine to stay ageless. So.
What's over there?
You have to invest in a special company. Just kidding. Norwest is really fortunate to work with some amazing entrepreneurs. We basically have invested in about 750 companies over the last 50 years. We manage about $4 billion. And we are stage agnostic, so we do all the way from seed investment to a late stage investment. I'm part of the enterprise group who does enterprise investments. And as a firm, we basically do investment in almost anything which can make money in the right way.
Arif Janmohamed from Lightspeed Ventures says he's a proud Canadian and loves to play ice hockey.
I don't play ice hockey very well, but I learned actually in business school when I was 28, so I'm actually pretty bad. Thank you. My name is Arif. I'm at Lightspeed Venture Partners. We're early stage investors based out of here in Menlo Park. We manage over $3 billion in capital right now. We like to be the first money in, but we'll also do Series Bs and Series Cs, do a lot of work around enterprise infrastructure, enterprise IT, as well as consumer. Some of the companies that we've been fortunate to partner with recently include Riverbed, Nimble Storage, Nicira, Snapchat, Whisper, DoubleClick, Blue Nile, etc. I'm on the enterprise side. I'm less cool than my friends that work on the consumer side, so I tend to invest in all of the buzzword-friendly areas: cloud, big data, mobile, what am I missing? SDN technologies.
Oh wow, lots of great companies. Thank you all. Let's get into questions. So just a basic question, what stage do you guys invest in? Do you come in at early? I know Fab mentioned something about the stage to get in with respect to a company. So what stage? Maybe each one of you can share that.
Sure. At Mayfield, as I mentioned earlier, our focus is on early stage investing. That's primarily like seed and Series A, and some of it is Series B, but primarily look at us at a seed and Series A firm.
For us, as we said already, we are stage agnostic, but at least in the enterprise group, most of our investments are first money in, and a lot of time business plan on a napkin time frame.
Yeah, same. Earliest stages is our sweet spot. Some seed, a lot of Series A's and Series B's.
Okay, thank you. So Navin, this question I would like to ask you first. What are some of the areas in cloud and security that really attract you? Like within security, you've got so many segments, right? You've got cybersecurity, you've got fraud protection, data breaches, encryption technologies, and similarly within cloud, You've got social networking in the cloud. You've got bandwidth constraints. So what is it that you're really interested in?
So I think both security and cloud are like ripe areas for innovation even today. Security is extremely hot, and there are many, many areas, as you mentioned. So there are 3 or 4 areas rather than rattling like 10 or 12 where at least we are prioritizing investments in. The first area in security is the area of insider threats, where intruders have already penetrated your network and are planning an attack. So can you catch any anomalous behavior that is happening in your network? This can be done through client-side technologies, it can be done through network-based analytics, or it can be done by running analytics on your SIM products. So that's one area we are actively pursuing. The second area is cloud security, where we have investments and continue to look for more. The third area is mobile. And then finally, we're also looking at software-defined security, especially as it relates to the east-west traffic, not the traffic that sits in the north-south on the perimeter, but more in the data center. As far as cloud is concerned, since you asked that too, we're looking at both opportunities at the infrastructure and the applications level. At the applications level, it's called SaaS. There are opportunities in both horizontals like sales, marketing, HR, service and support, but also in verticals such as media, healthcare, and financial services. And then at the infrastructure level, we have funded companies and continue to look for companies in both private clouds and hybrid clouds. It's hard to be a public cloud because the big guys are all doing it. So I think those are some of the areas we are focused, but at the end, the entrepreneurs come up with the ideas. Our job is to pick the best one. So I'm sure people in the crowd know much more than what we have looked at or what we find interesting.
Yeah, all ideas are best. So, Vab, you want to share?
Yeah, you ask security and cloud. From a Norwest side, we've been fortunate to make investments in some of these sectors when they were not hot. And the most successful companies get invested when there are not 50 other companies in the same sector. So, we were the lead investor in Rackspace, and then we were also a lead investor in FireEye. So at this point, I will just kind of give you my personal view, right, both in security and cloud. I think we are more driven by the entrepreneurs than the idea, because both of those markets basically going through a transition where a lot of early movers are already there with some very large businesses, or some companies are about to become very large. So now we need to catch on the next wave. And it's hard to really tell, what's going to be successful and what's not going to be successful. And for that, then you need really entrepreneurs who have a lot of experience and also who are flexible to change on the way to building the company based on the customer feedback. Automation seems to be a interesting area because there are so much technology overload is going on, and the skills workers, right, are not around. You can't hire enough. So one way to really deal with that is automation. So on the security side, there are so many point solutions. So how are you going to really bring all that together, and how the automatically, right action can take? In my mind, that will be an interesting area. And when it comes to cloud, I think the overlay services which can take advantage of the kind of compute is available at such a low price could be the interesting areas. But one thing I can guarantee you, after all of 3 years are done, you will not be able to tell the difference which he said, I said, or he's going to say. So we all are kind of trying to look for entrepreneurs, as Navin said, who are willing to make a difference.
Yeah, what I'll add to what Navin and Vab said is security is one of the gifts that keeps on giving. Every probably 4 or 5 years, a new platform company emerges. The recent platform companies, which are worth Today, Palo Alto Networks, $13 billion. FireEye worth, what is it, $6 billion in the public markets, right? These were the companies that sort of superseded the last generation of large security companies like SourceFire, like Cisco, like Checkpoint. So the real question here is, what will the next platform companies be over the next 5 years? And that's what we've been looking for. And because of this gift that keeps on giving, that's why you see more and more capital flowing into and behind great security entrepreneurs. And so what's been happening from a macro perspective is the entire perimeter of the enterprise has completely changed. So as close as 4 years ago, all of your applications as an enterprise lived behind your firewall. And so your job as a chief security officer was to put as much of a tight cordon around that perimeter, around your data center, to protect all of the applications that were inside your data center. What has happened, though, over the last few years is two things. First, people have started adopting applications that sit well outside your data center. These are SaaS applications: Salesforce, Marketo, Zendesk, SuccessFactors, Workday. The list goes on. There's thousands of these applications that are now outside your data center. But today, there's zero protection that has been a platform company that completely gives you everything from encryption to data leakage protection to behavioral analysis to just visibility and analytics. And there's a huge amount of companies that are actually addressing this, probably about 10 of them. I've invested in a company called Netscope. Navin's invested in a company called Elastica. Bab's invested in a company called BitGlass. This is a really interesting area, and there's a huge amount of work to be done here. The second thing that has changed is we've moved away from desktops and laptops to mobile devices. And so the threat area has now moved from just having to protect a desktop that was static inside a campus to a laptop that could move into coffee shops to a mobile device, whether that mobile device is your phone, your laptop, your iPad, or your watch, that moves anywhere. And that is going to be a new threat vector for the bad guys to go attack. And so how you protect, or how we will protect those mobile devices across not only compute devices, but also wearables, and also, to use a term that I actually hate, Internet of Things, that is going to be a huge area of innovation over the next 4 to 5 years that will, in my opinion, create a platform company.
Thank you. So Webb, this question is purely directed to you, because in the interest of time, I know you talked about passion in entrepreneurs, and that's what you see. So what is it really going to take for the audience to get a meeting? Or for you to kind of consider funding in their company?
I think for meeting is very easy. We have one of the best jobs. We get paid to meet people. So it's just an email, right, to me, and my email is on the NVP website, so you can pick it up from there, or I can tell you now. So what we really look for is, do you have, unlike in consumer where you can come out of school and just build the application and sometime you get really lucky and millions and billions of people use that. Unfortunately, in enterprise, it doesn't work that way. It takes 5 to 7, 8 years of journey to create a successful company. And a lot of challenges along the way. So what we really look for is, are you trying to do something which you have some experience, right? So if you have the domain expertise, we like that, right? The second thing is, the potential customers who you're going to sell to is someone in the founding teams knows them, right? Have you talked to them? Is there really a pain point? And the one thing I always kind of look at it, we all have an aspiration to build a multi-billion-dollar company and to change the world. We are happy if your company product have a potential to be sold to thousands of customers, not just 50 or 100. And then over the next 5 or 7 years, it have potential to build $100 million of revenue. Because if you can have thousands of customers and 100 million revenue, there's a lot of doors will open. So some big ideas, right? Sometimes we look for a market which is already there and not a lot of innovation happen. So we go after that market, right? I think Palo Alto is a great example that we've done really well. The big players was not doing innovation. They came in with that product and made it. By the way, we were not an investor. Other people made good money there and created a great company. Or sometimes we look for in new ideas, right? Which is a new need which is going to emerge, right? You heard here, all the applications are moving to the internet. One other interesting thing is happening on security is a company which had 10, 15, or hundreds of branch offices around the world. The internet gateways was 2 or 3 places, one in Asia, one in Europe, and one in America through the data center. So you only needed 3 firewalls, right? And then everything goes in and out from there. Now, every company, local branch office is over the internet. They don't have, some companies now have 100 and 1,000 firewalls. How are you really going to manage all that? How are you going to manage what employees are doing, right? So there's interesting ideas, right? So either think forward, right? Or take the big market where the current guys are not doing innovation and produce a better product. So those are the 2 things we look for.
The best thing that I learned here is total addressable market is you're very concerned about the customer base and what the product can do. So in the interest of time, Navin, I'm just going to direct this question to you. Can you please talk about a recent success and really the factors that contributed to that success?
Sure. So I think some of the recent successes we have had include Marketo and Solar City. And over the years, right, we have seen a common pattern in companies that succeed. It starts with entrepreneurs first, because we are in the business of backing people. People make products. Products don't make people. So what do these entrepreneurs do right? What have we learned? So I think, as I mentioned, starts with entrepreneurs. These people end up picking large markets where they provide painkiller solutions and not vitamins. They surround themselves with excellence. They hire A and A+ people who go forward and hire more A and A+ people. They focus, because startups, they die of indigestion. They never die of starvation. They have built a very, very nimble culture because they believe dinosaurs will never survive. And finally, they take a long-term perspective. They realize they're running a marathon and not a sprint, because overnight successes just don't get created. So I think those are some of the characteristics in the best entrepreneurs we have backed who end up succeeding.
Thank you. Arif, you want to spend 30 seconds on this? Please?
Yeah, it's frankly a lot of the same. It starts with the entrepreneur and to be an entrepreneur, you have to be insane. Right? You have to basically pick a large market. Large markets have a lot of competition. They've got incumbents that are very, very well financed. And you as an entrepreneur have to see a wedge into a market where there are very well entrenched competitors, and you have to have the focus and the drive to not only build a product that people want that innovates, but also hire the best people in the world. And so some of our recent successes, Nimble Storage is a great story. This was a company that was founded just before the bust of 2008, and they were taking on the $30 billion storage market. This is the world of EMC and NetApp. 2 amazing founders came out of Data Domain and then ran right into 2008, which was, as many of us remember, it was a traumatic period for an entrepreneur to go into a financing environment. They raised their capital, their Series B from Lightspeed, did a little bit of a pivot on the product, listened to the market and to their customers, and rode a trend of flash storage, which at the time was a little crazy, but now it's pretty clear that flash is the way that you do storage. But back then, it was completely unclear. And they went head-to-head with EMC. Head-to-head. And built out an amazing channel, convinced customers that they should move their data off EMC. No one ever gets fired for buying EMC, but people do get fired for buying stuff that may or may not work. And they've built a multi-billion-dollar company that went public last year.
Thank you. This is one of the questions from the audience, so I think one of you can address it. There's a lot of money flowing in the market. This is a perception right now with security and cloud companies. Is it somewhat creating a bubble, you think? Bab, you want to take?
Yes. I think there is too much money out there. And yes, we are in bubble, but as a venture capitalist, as entrepreneurs, if you're inside the bubble, then there's a problem. If you stay outside the bubble, then you're in a problem. So So you have to just keep moving, and that's what you're hearing from here. We like to bet on the entrepreneurs, because if they're smart entrepreneurs, they will create a success, right? Regardless if there's a bubble or not bubble, the matter will be how large of a success they're going to really create. So yes, we are in bubble. The valuations are too high.
We've got some people with gray hair here around the table. And so the last bubble that we saw was 97 to 99 or 97 to 2000. That bubble was insane. You had companies that were going public for $3, $4, $5 billion valuations with $5 to $10 million in revenues. What's different about this point in time, when we did some of this analysis, was although we keep hearing about a lot of unicorns or decacorns or whatever you want to call them, companies that have 10 billion market cap or $1 billion market cap, there's sound fundamentals behind these companies. These are companies that are doubling year over year, that are north of $100 million in recurring revenues, not perpetual revenues, but recurring revenues that are building long-lasting franchises. So yes, there's some ebullience around the market, but there's also a large amount of real companies that are out there in the enterprise space that have built products that are massively disruptive to the old guard. I mean, what is exciting today, if you just look at the public market, is why are Workday, ServiceNow, Palo Alto Networks, and FireEye so highly valued? And the reason is that there's hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap from the old guard. This is the Ciscos, the Microsofts, the SAPs, the Oracles, that will shift over to the new guard. And that is what excites people.
Okay, so since we are short on time, Navin, maybe you can help and shed some light. There's always a discussion nationwide that we got to apply the Silicon Valley model to other companies and corporations, right? And, whether it's General Motors, Ford Motors, the innovation really resides here, right? So if all those companies apply innovation, they can be more successful. So the question is, what makes the Bay Area so unique?
So I think it's the people. Bay Area is a state of mind. It's a very entrepreneurial mindset where it's okay to take risk and fail. Nowhere else in the world, right? Like I grew up in India, like 20 years back, failure was not an option, right? Like it was just not an option. There's a very well supported ecosystem in the Bay Area where you have a lot of capital available from VCs. You have successful entrepreneurs who can be role models, who can be advisors, who can be board members, like a lot of service providers who are available here. Then access to talent. Like look at the kind of domain expertise people have in this area. When you're building a company, you need engineers, you need marketing people, you need salespeople. This is where the bulk of the talent exists in the US and in the world. And then finally, we have access to local universities like Stanford and Berkeley, where you can get access not only to students, professors, but a lot of breakthrough technologies. So I think that's what makes the Bay Area unique, but it's primarily the people and the mindset they have.
Yeah, I would add one thing to that. I absolutely agree with that. It's capital, it's people, it's talent, yes. And at the heart of it, I think it's also culture, which ties to people, right? It's this culture of risk, right, which you touched on, but it's also this culture of collaboration, right? I have an idea, I'm gonna go talk to 5 people about that idea as an entrepreneur. Those 5 people will give me direct feedback, and those 5 people will also be open to introducing me to 5 people each. So all of a sudden, my idea gets immediate feedback from 25 people, right? And they make introductions to potential co-founders, potential engineers, potential customers. That is very, very hard to replicate from a cultural perspective. And that is just the way that Silicon Valley works. Go take a look at any Starbucks from San Jose all the way up to San Francisco, and there's people who are networking, who are meeting for the first time, and who are willing to help each other out.
It's really fascinating to hear this coming from a proud Canadian.
Yeah, and look, I left Waterloo, University of Waterloo in the late 90s, and in Waterloo, they were training, and this has been a mind shift over the last decade, which I'm very proud of, but when I was there, Waterloo was all about training middle management. It was about not taking risk. And I was one of the crazy people that came out here in the late 90s and stayed. Now Waterloo has completely embraced entrepreneurship and innovation and this culture. And I think that Waterloo is going to be a very important place for innovation over the next 20 years.
Okay, so last question. and let's please keep it to 30 seconds each. What is your advice to an entrepreneur interested in cloud and security? Do you have an example that they can follow to understand why you're suggesting that?
Sure. If you're interested in cloud security, do your diligence. Talk to as many people as possible. I think the best companies that succeed and build platforms are the ones that, before they even write a line of code, before they even take a cent of venture capital or institutional or even angel money, are the ones that talk to 50 customers and understand what the problem is. And that goes for security, for cloud, for big data, anything in the enterprise, actually.
First of all, my advice is don't worry about the bubble. Don't worry about there too many companies, because in the next 15 years in security and cloud, you will have a 10x of bigger companies getting created than they got created combined in the last 15 years, because the shift is very big and threat is very big, and the cloud computing is very big. The key thing is, the right venture capitalist to back you, who are willing to be patient with you. And then be very careful, who you hire, who your co-founders are, and who are your first 10 hires in the companies are. I think rest of it is going to work out.
So I think I agree with everything that has been said. The only comments I would add is it's a great time to be an entrepreneur. We have heard valuations are high, so jump in, right? The environment won't be the same that it used to be in 2008, 2009, 2010. This is the time, right, to take the dive and think big and think different. And some of the success factors I talked about that made Marketo and other companies successful, just keep those in mind. But jump in, this is the time.
Thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, just the closing remarks. I think we are all responsible to contribute to this world, and we want to leave a legacy to our successive generations that they can look at our accomplishments and be proud of what we left for them. That said, what could be more American than what happens in the Silicon Valley, where dreams come together to formulate an idea that eventually transforms into technology and innovation. We should be proud that we directly impact people's lives. We make the world a great place to live. Thank you. A big round of applause for the panelists. Thanks for your time.